Hey, what's up? Arvin here, and today we're going to do a little bit of design talk to discuss the new Toyota Prius 2023 design. So let's get started. Hey, this is Arvin from Driven to Draw. And last week, if you remember, we talked about the 2023 Toyota Prius and how they knocked it out of the park with their latest design. I've got to tell you that this was an incredible car with an incredible update. And I'm telling you that the styling that they came up with on this iteration for the 2023 is really outstanding. So in this video, we're going to be focusing on the illustration. So I'm going to do a real quick sketch of the 2023 Toyota Prius, and I'm just going to kind of take you through that walk. Alright, now the first thing I'm going to do when I start my drawing is I usually create a very rough underlay. So what you can see in the background, I am using a software called Krita. It's probably one of my most favorite drawing software. It is completely free, which is why I use it, and you can get some incredibly professional looking results. So when I start off with my initial sketch, I do a rough overview of the car and I plan out my perspective, my 2-point perspective. And then once I establish that view and I get all my basics in, which is the overall shape, the perspective lines, then I start to tighten things up. So what I've done here is I've created another layer on top of my underlay layer, which is my rough pencil sketch, and then I take I think I used a marker tool, and during this process of refining I may even correct some of the curves and some of the perspective that may have been a little bit off. Right here I'm just putting in my perspective line to where my wheels are going to be so I can create the right ellipse, and I usually do this with a lot of practice. If you're just starting out, there is a method to making sure that your ellipses are correct, and we go with the degree of ellipse. You can see here I use a technique called a draw through technique, and in that draw through technique what I do is I extend all my lines out. So I extend the lines, I don't create the full shape, I extend it so that I get a nice smooth curve or a smooth line that's not jagged, and it takes kind of a bit of practice when you're doing that. And then once I've done that, I just create all the intersecting lines that create the shape, and then I'll come back in and I'll start to refine things and start adding different radiuses and things like that. It's a really good habit to work this way with drawing through, because that is what gives you much cleaner line work. I'm working on the headlamps now, and I'm using a digital tablet. It's a Huon tablet, so I'm actually sketching on the tablet itself. And here I just start to refine the front and the headlamps and the shape. And now I'm going to go with the front fascia, the grille. And as I'm looking at my reference picture, I'm trying to understand the form language and the shape. So what happens here is that you can see I draw my centerline section, which is the section, the center line of the car. So I can kind of define what that shape looks like. And I know how it transitions from one shape to the other shape. So you can see here when I'm doing these shades from the windshield to the hood, there's not much of a difference in the transition. Actually, they almost got a really nice smooth curve from the hood and a nice rake in the windshield. Now I'm going to draw in my door cut lines. And I'm systematically creating these sections. So a section is basically taking a slice of the vehicle that kind of defines the shape at that particular location. I'm just going to add my side view mirror here, and I just kind of work back and forth, front to back, start outlining different shapes and just studying the reference photograph. And it's really nice to do these because once you start to understand the form of these details, you can develop your own visual vocabulary. So if you draw it enough times, then you can kind of commit that to muscle memory. Going to go now across, and now I'm going to just add a little bit of the window details on the opposite side of the car. Once again, I'm making sure that I'm drawing my perspective lines a little bit there. I make it a little bit lighter so I know where my reference points are, and then I just start to join those lines back in. And now I'm going to bring a little bit of attention as I start to draw this. You can see in my illustration here that I've darkened up a lot of the front area, so that's kind of like my focal area. The other thing you gotta keep in mind is when you start any of these illustrations, it's really important when you're planning things out that you've got the right proportions. You don't want to make the car too long or too stubby, too tall. So typically I start off with a side view to kind of define those proportions before I start to go with the perspective view. But once again, I just want to give you an idea so you can kind of see the process. So you see all these intersecting lines, and you can see how I'm coming back and refining things. I'm going back, I'm adding little radiuses and things. And one of the other things I'm doing here for the wheel to tighten things up is to just use the ellipse or the circle tool, and then I can create these ellipses and I can just tighten everything up so that I've got the right proportion, and I've give it a little bit more accuracy to the final sketch. I'm not going to go and render this thing up. What we're really trying to do is just create a finished line drawing. So this is pretty much about it. If you have any questions about this content or just methodology in drawing, or really want to understand more of the basics, or you have requests of any other kind of car or anything else you want me to draw, be sure to comment below. Of course, smash that subscribe button, and I'll see you next time on Driven to Draw. Have a good one.